Can I help you?
Yeah, I'm just wondering, are we doing any kind of an opening today, or?
Why would we?
I mean, you know what movie we're doing today, right?
I think Wonder Woman, right?
Yeah. So there's no cinematic opening, no shenanigans, no anything, no costumes or anything like that.
No, I was thinking we could just try and be at least a little professional today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I just have to call my wife and tell her that I don't have to wear the Wonder Woman costume today. So.
It's a real good podcast, yeah. Yeah. Woo!
Hi, I'm Austin James.
Woo! Wonder Woman!
And so much for professionalism. And welcome to the Real Good Podcast.
I'm Raymond Morris, and I am excited to talk about Wonder Woman!
Yes, you are.
Yeah, I am.
So, before we get into Wonder Woman, which I know you're very excited about,
Woo!
we got a couple movie and TV show related items we'd like to hit up in today's show, and a little category we like to call
Rapid Fire.
Pew,
Rapid fire! Rapid fire!
So Rapid Fire is where we're going to just breeze through the top news topics that have happened in the past week since we last saw you. So, leading off today, Justice League supposedly has had a mandated 2-hour runtime. And this was a big controversy coming up a little while ago where we found out that it had a 1 hour and 59-minute runtime. So, Austin, you hear this? It came down from the WB CEO Kevin Tsujihara. Mm-hmm. Try and spell that out. Mm-hmm. What do you think of this? What do you make of this news? Now, are you concerned with Justice League now? Or what do you think?
my only level of concern, which if it's coming down from the CEO, it sounds like maybe that's something we're just learning about, and I'm hoping that this came out early, like before production started, which probably did because the production started like literally a month after Batman vs. Superman debuted in theaters, which now seems like an eternity ago.
Yeah. Wow.
But anyways, so as long as they were always going for a shorter runtime, then I'm fine with that. But again, I don't want to get into the same thing that's been kind of a DC issue where a director had this vision of, say, like a 2.5 hour or 3 hour movie, and then they wanted to cut it for theater time, which I get it because you get more ticket sales. People are seeing your movies more often if they're shorter. But if you're cutting a 2 hour, 40-minute movie to 2 hours, there could be a lot missing. But it sounds like this was the plan.
You get more plays in the theater, and that is why Warner Brothers cut down the Batman v Superman to the we have it written down here, 151-minute runtime instead of the 181-minute runtime.
Yeah.
This Wonder Woman is on the mind. Justice League is going to end up being, I think, 17 minutes shorter than Suicide Squad. Mm-hmm. Suicide Squad felt really long.
Yeah, it did.
Did it feel 15 minutes too long? I think it felt like it was half an hour too long.
Yeah.
And so it all comes down to, is this the original vision for the film? Mm-hmm. I would like to think, I think I'll line up with you here. I think yes. Mm-hmm. It seems like that is, I don't think they brought Joss Whedon in to trim down a 3-hour movie to a 2-hour movie. Mm-hmm. I think they brought him in to kind of bring some levity to some places and to be able to help finish up a movie for a good friend like he is with Zach. So I'm not really too concerned, but we'll know when we see the movie in a week and a half.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm really
crazy.
excited. Yeah. So news topic number 2, and this one's a doozy. This is a doozy. Per a news article from CNBC, Disney has been in talks over the past 2 weeks with Fox to acquire the film television departments of Fox, leaving Fox to only do sports and news, and Disney would now have the rights to the films of Fox. X-Men, Fantastic Four, all of that stuff, and including FX, FXX, and National Geographic, which is what I'm most concerned about. Nat Geo, of course. I love me my Nat Geo. That's a lie. I can't even tell you 3 shows that are on there, except for documentaries. But what do you? We were talking about this just before this dropped. Like, that's insane.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, it's a big deal, and like we were talking about, like I understand that movies and TV are a completely different animal, but it kind of I can see in theory why it makes sense. I was telling you before we were starting, like American Idol is a big deal. They're actually getting ready to revive the show on ABC
Because why not?
Yeah, right. So and it used to always play on Fox for its long run. But I never understood it was actually kind of a Disney production thing, so that's why it used to be an MGM and stuff like that. Or Hollywood Studios, or whatever they're going to name it when they change that.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes sense. There's been these different things. Modern Family is made by Disney, ABC, but it plays on Fox. It's distributed by Fox. So this they've worked together on a few things. But I know if you're watching this show and you've liked us talking about comic book news, we're not going to beat around the bush. The one thing that everybody's getting really excited for is
what's happening with the Fantastic Four. No.
I mean, it could be.
No.
It'd be weird, like, does Chris Evans look in a mirror and say, like, you were a good-looking guy? And he's
No,
with
what we're
Captain
thinking
America.
about is Deadpool, right?
Yeah.
We're thinking about Deadpool.
Could be an interesting
We're thinking about this direction that the X-Men have been going in,
Mm-hmm.
where they have the New Mutants movie that's going to be coming out. That's like a horror movie, and I'm not sure if that's a rated R.
Yeah.
Is it rated R? I'm
I'm
not sure it is. I think it
don't
might be a PG-13.
Yeah.
But based off of that first trailer, it could very well be R.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember. But Logan has just come out. And then you have Deadpool coming out. They were making Deadpool 2.
Yeah.
What is going to happen with this? Do you think that the future of those types of movies, at least because that was the studio that was making them.
Yeah.
Fox was the one that had done it right. So far with those two, is that going to be the end of it? And honestly, unless they put it on Netflix, I don't see Disney acquiring superhero movies, putting them in their filmic universe, and being okay with them being rated R. Now, Netflix, you have The Punisher, you have Daredevil. Those are very brutal type of shows. I'm not huge into Jessica Jones, but like that one had some subject matter that was very not Disney. So unless they're putting it on Netflix, I think you're not getting another Deadpool type thing. I really don't. But you have a different opinion, right?
So I have kind of multiple thoughts about it.
You're allowed.
Well, one is, and this is something that I should have studied before I was hit with this bomb a few hours ago.
Boom.
But Miramax made the Blade movies, which were R-rated, which are Marvel properties, which had Ryan Reynolds in it. So they've done it before, but the thing I'm trying to think of is if Miramax is even still around.
They may not.
Because I haven't seen anything made by them in years. But I know that they still have Touchstone, they still have New Line Cinema and all
We'll answer the question in the comments section. We'll answer it.
So that could be one way they go about it, is they can make it with one of their kind of subsidiary companies like a Touchstone or one of those.
Yeah, but this is superhero movies that are all the rage right now. This is a big deal.
Yeah.
And so the kids are going to associate Disney with Deadpool if they put out more Deadpool movies. They're going to associate the mouse with non-mouse type things.
Yeah.
If they're putting them out on mainstream, but they are making Daredevil, they are making The Punisher, they are making Luke Cage, they are making that horrifying, terrifying thing known as Iron Fist.
Yeah.
They make all those things. So it's not out of the realm of possibility, but it's just, I don't know. I really don't know.
It's hard.
But just like one of people I know we like to read, John Campia, pointed out, movie reporter, he said that the big thing with this report is it says they have talked, but it doesn't say they're talking anymore. So that may be telling. I don't know. It might just be the calm before the storm.
And here's one final thought on it.
Yeah.
Disney has put their name on a well-known R-rated property before in their parks. And that was the Alien Encounter ride that
That's
used
true.
to be in Magic Kingdom. which is funny. I mean, they also had a part of it in the great movie Ride.
Yeah.
God rest its soul.
Well, and technically, Pulp Fiction is a Disney movie.
Yeah.
So
it could be done. The only thing I would think is if they did get, I mean, because they're going to have to try to do something, because that movie made over $700 million worldwide. It's well known.
Yeah.
The only thing I could see them maybe doing with it is if they do make it, I know Deadpool fanatics will hate this, it's going to have to be PG-13. But you watch a movie like Guardians of the Galaxy, and it definitely teeters the line with some of their jokes and innuendos.
Yeah.
So if the stuff that Guardians could get away with, I feel like you could do that with Deadpool, and it doesn't seem like either one of those would be a watered down version of what you would get.
Yeah, agreed.
So, but enough on that. I think we've hit on.
Speaking of Disney, we have one more Disney topic to talk about here. Oh, I was going to let you take this one.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Well, that is
spreading the wealth.
If you were, I'm sure I'm not alone on this one, because it looks like $122 million worth of people agreed with me. You enjoyed Thor Ragnarok this weekend. It was another big hit for Disney, Marvel, like as we were just talking about. And did you hear the other news that not only was this movie a big hit, but now the MCU has made over $5 billion worldwide in their films.
That's insane.
So that's a big accomplishment. And I know sometimes we rat on them a little bit, but you have to applaud, everybody over there, Kevin Feige and all those guys for having a vision. And it's kind of funny because technically it is the highest grossing independent film studio out there.
What?
The MCU. Even though it's owned by Disney, it was started as their own.
Yeah, but now it's not.
Yeah.
So let's not go too far in that direction, please. But we went and watched this on Friday. Saturday.
Yeah,
Saturday. We went and watched this on Saturday. And I was pleasantly surprised, mainly because, and I was really anticipating it coming in, and I hate the Thor movies, absolutely hate the Thor movies, and I really wish, and we're not going to get into spoilers here, I really wish this would have been the first Thor movie. I really do.
Yeah.
Oh man, you imagine watching this and this being your introduction to Thor.
It'd be a little
and I think,
different,
because they do the Planet Hulk story a little bit to work him in, but I feel as though you could have worked this as an origin type story for Thor and made it in this vein and have made it really, really well. I would have loved it. I would be a Thor fan. I would be a Thor fan right now. I'm not a Thor fan still, but I like the third one because Taika Waititi was able to do the stuff that he does well. I mean, some of the jokes run a little bit long, and that's just me. Maybe I'm just a nincompoop, and doesn't understand the same joke being told 3 straight times in the movie, coming to a grinding halt for a minute just to be able to try and get another punchline. But overall, I liked it, and I have one word to kind of say what my favorite part is. What, Krog?
I think that's the name. Yeah,
Krog. Hi there. How are you? Big giant rock monster. Watch the movie, you'll figure it out.
It's
but
pretty awesome.
You liked it?
I liked it a lot. And I know this is for another time, but a movie that stirred up a lot of controversy amongst comic book fans, and it ended its run a few years ago, was The Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
And the biggest complaint was there was tonal changes, there was too many villains, there was a lot of cameos, this and that.
Yeah.
I feel like Thor 3 had the same stuff.
Well,
but I liked both movies.
Yeah. I don't think the tonal changes really happened with this one. It was all really fun and games.
Yeah.
I felt that with this one. With a name like Ragnarok, which I know a lot of comic book geeks are really upset with this movie because it was all fun and games, really. Yeah. It was literally all fun and games, but it took us to the literal pits of hell.
Yeah.
And comment censored for spoils, so I didn't want to actually say that it was a spoiler. So let's just move on to one final thing, real quick. Stranger Things is really kicking butt right now. Yep. The Nielsen service, who does TV ratings, this is insane. Within the first 3 days, over 15 million people streamed the first episode.
That's awesome.
And that's only on TVs.
Yep.
So those are only people watching it through the TV. That's not people watching it on their laptops or phones or any other tablets or anything.
Yeah.
So that number could easily have gone
Oh,
way
yeah.
up. You've watched the first episode. How far are you? I finished it.
finished the
You finally
yeah.
finished it.
Yeah.
Did you like how it ended? Did you like the way the season went? Give us your thoughts in 1 minute.
I know you don't like hearing this comparison,
I hate this comparison.
but I have never enjoyed the first 2 seasons of a show like this, and it's not like this goes way back, anyways, I have not enjoyed the first 2 seasons of a show kind of in this kind of action adventure since when I first watched the first 2 seasons of the Flash show. I mean, I know you don't like it, but for me, both of those shows, so many great characters. It's entertaining from start to end. The effects are amazing. The only thing Stranger Things has on The Flash is the fact that they have less episodes, but they're longer episodes, and the fact that they aren't owned by a major studio. They're kind of their own thing. So I feel like there's not a lot of things where, sometimes Flash gets very filler, like just,
Yeah.
But when both shows are at their best, they're so good, and you really enjoy all the characters. And I don't know if it's not really a spoiler thing, but the thing that I've really liked in this season too is these characters are continuing to grow. And any show that I really like this when shows do that, and The Flash has done this a little bit. I like when the show where you create a good cast with, say, a lot of good core. And I like when the shows get really good and they start kind of separating them for who you're always seeing them together.
Yeah.
People with odd mismatched characters, and all of a sudden now they're friends. And that goes to speak just how good the chemistry of your entire cast is. Because, again, it's a little spoilery, but there's
Let's not get specific. Well, I think it's kind of out there now. So, yeah, just don't go into plot details.
I won't go into plot details.
Okay.
But Steve Harrington, who's the bully from the first season, and
Star of Domino's.
And the star of the Domino's commercials. And I always forget his name.
Curly-haired kid.
The curly-haired kid.
Yeah.
Yep, I love him. Those 2 guys together are fantastic. And I have to really go back to the first season, but I don't think they ever share any screen time in the first season.
No, I don't think, because the first season they really separate the older kids from the younger kids.
So seeing those pair up was probably my favorite thing.
I'm gonna jump in here. The way they kind of pair off the different team players, and they do a great job of developing these characters. There are no filler episodes. Now, I kept reading that episode 7 was a controversial one. I remember seeing article headlines saying that episode 7, why'd they do episode 7? And having watched that episode now, and once you do, you'll understand these comments. I won't give away what it is. But that was a necessary episode. Yeah. And it's not controversial in like subject matter or anything. Mm-hmm. It's controversial because it kind of goes in a different direction than the show has. Yeah. But it expands the universe of the show. It gives us more to play with in the future, but it's not one of those like Batman v Superman flash drive scenes where it's not like an entire episode of just watching video clips of potential other 11s. Yeah, that's not what's happening. It's this show, that episode really it deepens one character, gives this character motivations, and helps us understand that one character even more going forward. There are no filler episodes. They do a great job of, it's the same thing, give me the same but different. Yeah. That's what screenwriters are wanting all the time. That's what producers and studios want all the time. That's what screenwriters and directors are trying to give you all the time. Yep. And that is what season 2 does. It feels exactly like Stranger Things season 1, except they got a bigger budget and they use it really well. And it's very different from the first season, but feels very similar to the first season. We need to give Will Byers the Emmy. I'll go on ahead and give it to him. And the final episode made me cry. The very end. It was the perfect cap to it, and I cannot wait for season 3.
It's so good.
And we're just gonna do a shameless. Can I do a shameless plug here?
Yeah.
We did a video. So if you're like us and you've already streamed Stranger Things season 2, and you're looking for something kind of like that to kind of scratch that itch for a while. Check out the video, November What's Your Next Flicks video. We have some suggestions, 5 suggestions on what you can stream across the different platforms. 2 from Netflix, 1 on Hulu, 1 on Amazon, and 1 on YouTube. So check that out. It's probably going to play next if you're watching this on YouTube. And if you're listening to us, go ahead and check it out on YouTube. Can we get to Wonder Woman now?
Yep.
Wonder Woman!
It's that time. Alrighty.
Yeah, so we're doing a double take today. Double take.
Alrighty.
Double take.
I imagine you're batting lead off in this subject since you've been looking forward to the
I
better part of
don't
the
know. Maybe. Okay, so I have a movie journal, and my mentor in grad school told me, she told me of a cinematographer that does this, someone that she works with. The guy made Street Cat Named Bob. It's on Netflix right now. Check it out. Awesome movie, heartwarming tale. Has nothing to do with Wonder Woman. And what he does is he takes notes on every single movie he watches during the year.
Really?
And makes notes. It's some work notes, some just general notes. So I've been doing that this year. And I went back to look at what I wrote down for Wonder Woman. And I didn't write anything down. Because I got behind on my movie journal. But this is what was written down. June, because this was debuted on June 2nd.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote down June 1, June 2, June 4. I watched it 3 times in the first 3 days that it was out.
Did you really?
I watched it
I didn't
three
know that.
times, technically 3 times in the
'Cause
first
you're
3
not
days,
a
but I
big
watched it Thursday night, Friday
Yeah.
night, and then Saturday and Sunday.
And that's saying something because you're not typically a big repeat viewer.
I'm not in a
person.
theater, not
Yeah.
really. But this movie, when we first went and watched it, I was all about Wonder Woman. It was it was a breath of fresh air. It was a really fun movie, and I just loved it from top to bottom. I thought it was really great. And then I watched it a second time, I thought it was really great. Watched it a third time, thought it was really awesome. Did you think first viewing? What'd you think?
I thought it was horrible. I'm just
Probably.
kidding.
Probably.
No, it was. It's great. It's hopeful. It's what everybody's saying about it is what you're gonna get. It's got a great lead. It's got a great story. Impressive visuals. I don't think anybody talks about that enough. That
Okay.
movie is great to look at, which is saying something.
Dude,
because,
dude, you're married. Like, come on, man.
I know
Come on.
Chris Pine is something to behold.
Oh gosh, that's your favorite, Chris, huh? Oh my gosh, but honestly, yeah. So this brings up an interesting topic. I guess we're jumping ahead. So if you've been with us before with the double take, what we do is we rewatch a movie after we either loved it or hated it in the theater, or something was hated in the theater and then or loved in the theater. We come back and see how well it's held up. You bring up the visuals thing, and I just want to make sure everybody out there understood, because we did this for Man of Steel. Check out that episode. With Wonder Woman, the visuals, I agree. But when we started rewatching it, when I rewatched it just today, actually, you can kind of tell that some parts are green screen.
Yeah.
Like some parts, and so this was a complaint of mine for Thor Ragnarok as well.
Mm-hmm.
In the gladiator scene,
Yeah.
I think that just looked terrible because it was so green screeny. But then you were saying, well, I mean, maybe our eyes are trained to look for green screen. So I guess I don't know when it comes to a movie, where is that line?
Yeah.
Where is that line between bad green screen, good green screen? What do you think? So with bringing Wonder Woman to this, because you were just talking about the visuals, you loved the visuals, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the way I kind of look at it is you kind of have, like, if you're not familiar with baseball, they have kind of like the Mendoza line. It means you're batting below 200. So your Mendoza line for CGI would be like Green Lantern. Like, that'd be about the worst it can look. Like, very like PlayStation-y.
I don't know. I feel like the worst a movie could look is the second Mummy movie.
Oh gosh, yeah, that's bad.
The Mummy 2: Return of Brendan Fraser's screams.
Oh gosh. And
But no, The Rock
terrible
showing up,
Rock.
you're like,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
like,
that's
are
probably
we
about the
playing
worst.
PlayStation 2 right now?
Even the first ones, visuals weren't great either.
They don't hold up at all.
But yeah, so that'd be like your bottom core, like the Scorpion King singles. Yeah, that'd be down there. And then top of the line CGI, I would think would probably be something like the original Jurassic Park, because it's what started it all. I mean, it didn't start it all
holds up
technically.
so well.
But yeah, it's amazing. Those dinosaurs still look like they're there.
Yeah.
But the ones in Jurassic World.
Here's a hot take. Hot take is that I thought the visuals in Jurassic World weren't really all that great.
I don't
think
know
the
that's
originals
I don't know
were.
that's a hot
No,
take.
that's a hot take for some people. I mean,
Yeah.
that movie made billions of dollars, and almost toppled 3 different small third world nations
I
with
still
just
like
its
it.
GOP. But you know, we coming back to Wonder Woman. So so you're saying what for me? What makes the difference is I hate it when movies kind of. They kind of cut a corner for budgetary reasons.
Yeah.
And instead of going somewhere to get that visual, they just recreate it in a studio. And you can tell when a movie feels grounded, it's because they actually went to the freaking place.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
That
yeah.
scene is on a beach.
Only
It's
again,
not just on a
Themyscira.
sound
Yeah.
studio. Well, so with the Themyscira ones, they're on a beach. They filmed a lot of those on the beach.
Yeah.
That's fine. But there are some scenes that like just when she jumps and there are some places in this movie
Yeah, it
that
looks a
feel
little-
very green screen that's there, isn't it? And it kind of takes you out for a second. But I don't think it's bad at all. I think the visuals overall are actually really, really pretty good.
Yeah. That's what I was saying too. I liked when they went to different locations. You could tell the directors and the crew went to different locations. When they were on a train station, that looked like they were actually at a train station.
Yeah.
It may not have been real, but
But at least looked like it.
everything looked legit. And I liked, and maybe it's just because it was just you had time to follow your one story and you had time to really get your CGI right for the story you wanted to tell, and it came out that way. And like what you were saying, the Themyscira, because we talked about Man of Steel in our first episode. And again, it kind of felt very Man of Steel-like in the fact that you open with this completely... And that's what's been so great about the DC movies. Gotham City feels like its own thriving thing.
Well, I mean, not really thriving.
But
it's like rotting from the inside
But
out.
like, all the worlds they've created are exactly what you imagine in your mind. It's not some, So Krypton isn't this giant ice planet where everybody looks like they're from some 80s rock and roll concert.
You don't have Marlon Brando standing there reading more cue cards. Russell Crowe actually learned his lines.
But in Man of Steel, Krypton was this place with like weird flying creatures and all this different technology, but it was still kind of like old fashioned. Like it was cool. And then with Themyscira, it's exactly what you'd think. It looks like an island of paradise.
Actually,
plus Gal Gadot lives there.
Yeah. Okay, for me, it wasn't what I was expecting Themyscira to look like.
Really?
But it was in that same vein.
Yeah.
And I think that's just a testament to what you're saying. It's when you look at the way these worlds are, they look as though they are in the same vein, same spirit of what you grew up with.
Yeah.
I remember there was tons of controversy when Gal Gadot was first cast and for Batman v Superman, and I feel like a lot of people kind of had their worries remedied with Batman v Superman when they saw her in there, but in Wonder Woman it just showed again that she can hold her own movie, and the way she was an awesome choice, and the way she just personifies who Wonder Woman is. Even with the accent that the entire rest of the island worth of actresses had to learn this accent so that Gal Gadot seemed like she was at home. Why didn't they just hire a bunch of Israeli actresses?
I don't know why they didn't.
I don't know.
Because a lot of them just stand in the background and say nothing.
That would have been made my Israeli heritage, Jewish heritage heart feel great. But...
It's basically just been her and Natalie Portman digitally rendered to be like 100 characters.
Oh, maybe, but I felt like Gal did such a good job, and she kind of resembles her Wonder Woman. She doesn't have the blue eyes, but who cares? If you're one of those people that are upset about Wonder Woman not having blue eyes, here's a hot take for you: get a life.
Yeah.
My goodness, the way she acts, the way that she is. Filled with hope throughout this entire film. Her chemistry is great. Her chemistry with Chris Pine, fantastic. It is charming. Oh my word, loved it. And it holds up, and it's almost even better the second time because the quips and the lightheartedness of the movie, it doesn't feel like it goes. They don't push the gags too long.
No, they don't.
Which is something that I don't like. I don't hate all the Marvel movies. I really don't. I like a lot of them. But But one thing that seems to be prevalent with the movies as they continue through this universe is they try to be so funny and they tell a joke and then they tell that same joke and then the movie comes to a grinding halt.
Yeah.
With Wonder Woman, they didn't do that. And it felt natural and it felt like you were there with a lot of these characters. But that being said, it wasn't a perfect movie, though. It really wasn't. And in the rewatch, some of the things that stood out to me when first watching the movie stood out again. I don't know about you. What are some of the negative things that kind of stand out on the rewatch here?
Well, actually, it's kind of funny because I feel like the negatives popped out more when I first saw it, and then when I rewatched it,
Really?
they actually went away.
Huh.
So it actually got better.
What was it?
So when I first saw the movie, my take was I reviewed it as not quite as good as the first Captain America movie, which isn't a bad thing because I think that movie's fantastic. I know a lot of people just think it's cheesy, okay, but in my line, it's one of the top of the line Marvel movies. And so to put it in that category really isn't a slight to Wonder Woman. And I think maybe the reason originally I didn't like it as much as the first Captain America is because I didn't like, which again, if you're watching these, there's spoilers and all that. So spoiler. I wasn't a big fan of the villain in the whole story, who is, Ares is the god of war, which this has been a thing I've read has been kind of a make or break moment with people. Not necessarily to make or break the movie, but just with the character. So you see the guy throughout the movie, and he's just kind of a bit character. You see him at times, and he's kind of following the story. And then he's revealed to be the villain at the end, Ares, which was cool because it's the idea of what you were expecting was the guy that's kind of the general that you that has to be Ares, but it's not. I like that. I guess what I didn't like is when he's putting on all the armor, then I'm expecting like straight out of like the Injustice video game, like that Ares, like this black, hellish being looking thing. But it's still just a British guy with a mustache with armor on. So that was my first take, and I really didn't like it. But I think now that I watch it more and more, I think now I've come to grips that it's not. It doesn't ruin the character. It's not as bad as I originally thought it was, but it's still something I still think it's slightly goofy, but I think it fits this movie because I think not that this movie is goofy or anything, like it's very serious in what it is, but it does have and when I say lighter tone, I'm not saying lighter tone in the sense of Guardians of the Galaxy, but lighter tone maybe and maybe in the sense of like Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire when they were good. Yeah. Spider-Man, like where like I like you get what they were trying with those first Spider-Man movies where there's like heartful scenes where it's not as dark and gritty. So I think because the movie was like that, I think that Ares works for that. Had it been the tone of something like Man of Steel, it might not have worked.
Yeah, and so some of my complaints, I guess, concerns with the movie. So, of course, spoilers here. Watch Wonder Woman. I don't think that the spoilers ruin anything for the movie, but it is a really, really well executed twist. That being said, Dr. Poison, and we have it written down here. I always forget the guy's name, which is never Ludendorff.
William Stryker.
William Stryker. William Stryker from X-Men Origins Wolverine. He plays such a twirling mustache, like caricature of a villain throughout the entire movie. It's like they're trying to throw you off the path of who Ares is. Like they're really trying to infer super hard that this is the guy that's evil. Dr. Poison falls right in line there with super cartoony moments, really. There's the moment where they throw the gas into the boardroom with all of the people that are drawing up the armistice, and he throws a mask in and they lock the door, right? And so they're all choking and dying, and Dr. Poison's like, the mask going to work. And then he goes, they don't know that. And then they start laughing, they cackling like a couple middle school girls. In that moment, when it's put in juxtaposition to the seriousness and groundedness, as grounded as you can make a Wonder Woman movie, of the rest of Wonder Woman traveling to the front lines. It really sticks out, and so those parts I really find hard to reconcile. Still, it doesn't take you completely out of the movie, but for a moment it really does. I'm one of the few people that's okay with the Ares reveal. in all of that. I'm okay with it because you don't see the mustached guy underneath the helmet once he does that. You really don't until the helmet gets knocked off, and then he's there. But I liked it. Now, if we were doing a redo, I would tell you what I wish would have happened is that was Ares in disguise, and then once that battle comes, like when he puts the armor on, that's such an awesome moment.
Oh, yeah.
It would have been sick if like he's doing it in the fire, and then all of a sudden the stuff's coming on his arms, and then you see kind of like the skin melt away, like it's a disguise. Which is kind of
what I was expecting.
And then he's like this monstrous like red eyes in there. But I'm okay with what they ended up going with, and that's an awesome epic showdown at the end. A little bit of CGI there.
You have to use it.
But you do.
There's floating rocks.
Yes,
and stuff.
there's floating rocks, but it does feel very CGI'd at times. Though, and that's the difference. Is CGI is necessary when you're making dinosaurs, when you're making Ares and Wonder Woman fight each other, but there are parts of it that you wonder if we could have just done a little bit more practical effects for it, like fire. You don't have to digitally create fire for everything. You could make real fire more than you did, but that's saying that's like a nitpick there. I really enjoyed the movie, but one of the things there's a concept in filmmaking called Chekhov's gun. Have you heard of this? Have you heard of this? So basically, that's the rule in that if you show a gun at the beginning of a movie, you have to shoot it by the end.
Okay.
Like otherwise, why do you show the gun at the beginning? Like everything that's in the film needs to have a purpose. I think overall, Wonder Woman does a really good job of telling a singular story that does an okay job with world building as much as it needs to, and that's kind of the singular story working through. And it doesn't feel super long. It feels like it moves along quite nicely, and everything seems to tie into the main story, and that's what makes this movie such a great film. I think one of the reasons. Yeah. That being said, in the non-Howling Commandos that Steve Trevor puts together, they have that Irish guy or Scottish guy, Charlie. Yeah. Who we're told he is a world-class sniper. Yeah. And we're told that. And he talks about shooting people, and he has like PTSD, and it's like a really awesome representation of that, and seeing how people struggled when they fought in these wars, and it's an awesome thing. Yeah. You know how many people we see him shoot down in the movie?
I don't think any.
I don't think you see any.
Yeah.
Zero. Yeah. The one time he's given the chance to snipe somebody out of a bell tower, he doesn't. He freaks out and he doesn't do it. Yeah. It never happens once. So going back to that concept, if we're told that someone is really good at something, and we're giving him the opportunity to do it, why don't we actually see him do it once? What's the point of that? Like that doesn't really build his character. So like it's like we're supposed to just buy in, but show, don't tell. Show me that he's a good sniper. Yeah. Don't necessarily just tell me about it. And you have that opportunity to actually show it at the final battle. Come to think of it, but you don't see him actually shoot anybody. You see him shoot his gun once and then turn to Chief and go, "Hey, do you have any ammo?" And he goes, "No, man, I'm out." And then they pray and they think they're done for. But that moment, like you could have shown him sniping a bunch of people down, and it's like, "Hey, Charlie's overcome this. Hey, Charlie is a world-class sniper," but we never get to see that. You know. And then that's something that stood out to me in the second viewing. Not second, more like sixth or seventh viewing, because I've watched this a lot of times.
That's true.
Overall, man, what do you think? Does Wonder Woman, with its 92% on Rotten Tomatoes right now, and over $800 million earned worldwide, highest grossing origin superhero film of all time, does it deserve the praise still? Is it that good?
Yes. And I will tell you why.
Tell me why.
Because, and this is something we've never really taken into consideration, that I've never thought about until I've talked to my wife about this.
Love.
For the female viewing audience, this was their Christopher Reeve Superman movie.
Which is interesting because Patty Jenkins
does a lot of references.
If I told you about Sammy Jenkins?
Yeah.
But no, Patty Jenkins. She said, she was inspired by that movie.
And that's what I felt like. It was all the things we've seen before and seen 100 times, but it's passable, not just because it's a female character, but it's just because it seems like every time we see a female character, whether she's cool or not, they never seem to know how to like handle them.
Mhm.
They're either Tomb Raider and they're just meant to be like appealing and sexy and like what are they? Or you kind of get into the Ray material where a lot of people's complaint was like they didn't want to draw any criticism from the female audience, so she just great at everything. She knows the Force better than anybody, and she can also fly the Millennium Falcon. But I'll let that pass. But like with Wonder Woman, they give her kind of like she's kind of like I was explaining it to my wife and she agreed. Wonder Woman is a Disney princess, but an action hero. So she kind of has her whole, like, kind of like the Little Mermaid, you know, when she loses her voice and stuff, and she's trying to understand the human world.
The fish out of water thing, pun intended.
So it's kind of interesting, you humanize her. So she's this god among men when she's on the island and everything. And then she gets in everyday life, and it's not understanding our customs, you know.
Yeah.
I can't bring a sword into a meeting, and then you have the whole she can't go into a meeting because she's a woman and she doesn't like that. She is upset by it, but they don't get too preachy about that, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
And that's what's really good about this movie is being the female icon that Wonder Woman is. They tell her story. You see that she's a female icon. And when they do get into preachy stuff like what we were talking about before with the love and stuff, they don't get into the which isn't a problem at all, but they don't get highly into the feminist stuff because we kind of already know that. And I like that the audience treats us like we're above where we are in this country right now. Like it treats us like we understand this climate that we're in, and there's a good story to tell, and it shows. That's why this movie's doing so well.
Well, and they avoid the male gaze, which is an issue where we aren't getting camera angles that are over sexualizing Wonder Woman. And if anything, like you get the scene with Steve Trevor, like not wearing anything.
I think that's the point. And
that's
like we've seen that a billion
it's awesome.
times.
And that's what you get with a female filmmaker, which is awesome. And I wish we had more of that. I really, really honestly do. I would watch it. I know a lot of other people would, because at the end of the day, let's tell great stories. And it doesn't always have to be a male-led superhero film. It doesn't have to be that. It just tells a good story. That's what it's about. And so it was awesome to watch Wonder Woman just kick some butt, take some names, and she does the movie. I agree. I love it. I think it holds up well, and I think it's a great step forward in filmmaking.
Yeah.
Now let's keep the momentum going.
Yeah.
Patty Jenkins is back for the second one.
Yep.
Let's get some more of that awesome sweet action there of Wonder Woman. And what's interesting is the juxtaposition of what we talked about last week with Suicide Squad. Like you have Suicide Squad and then you have Wonder Woman. Suicide Squad is made by a male filmmaker. Wonder Woman is not. Wonder Woman is made by Patty Jenkins. Suicide Squad, you have like the weirdly unnecessary shot of Harley Quinn getting dressed and changing. You never get that with Wonder Woman. Like. And it makes you wonder, like, that, for those of you that are wondering what the male gaze is, that's a perfect example right there.
Yep.
Where the camera is speaking from the male perspective. It didn't in Wonder Woman. And the story is better for that. And I think that it's an awesome film, top to bottom.
Yeah.
You need to check it out if you haven't already. And I think it's an awesome step in the right direction for the DC films overall.
Yeah. And that's the one thing is we're kind of closing out this month of talking, or not really month, but this.
Well, it is. This is the fourth one.
Yeah, that's
a month leading up to Justice League.
Yeah, so in closing out, this is the one thing you can say about DC versus Marvel. And Marvel's catching up with them on. See, everybody's
That's
saying,
interesting because it's usually the other way around.
But there's one thing that DC's been leading on, and I understand the Flash has went through like 8 billion different directors already. Yeah. But the one thing that DC has been more of a pioneer on is not just getting people of diversity in their leading roles and stuff, but behind the camera as well. You have James Wan directing Aquaman, who's he's from China or
I don't honestly.
Taiwan?
I'm not sure.
We'll look it up. So you have James Wan directing Aquaman. You had, I'll probably say his name wrong. the guy that did Dope that was attached to the Flash for
Yeah,
a while.
yeah.
So you had an African American director in there, and we still don't know who the director of the Flash would be.
Yeah.
They
They may just get an old white guy, and that'll really diversify everything.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But so I feel like they've really done a good job in that aspect of really not just having the same kind of person behind the camera, not just in race and how they act, but their personalities too. You can see that in Marvel, some of these directors obviously have different. I wouldn't think that somebody like the do all the Marvel movies are exactly alike, but it kind of seems like they always get people that kind of seem like cool, hipster, funny people, and then their movies kind of come across as goofy and fun.
It all fits a mold, and we can get into some of this next week too, when we're talking about kind of like Justice League and stuff. But yeah, when Warner Brothers stays out of the picture, when the studio doesn't interfere very much, the artist's voice really does come out.
Yeah.
Their talents are accentuated, and they're able to make truly unique films.
Yeah.
Wonder Woman is a case. Suicide Squad could have been. Man of Steel is an awesome example as well. Justice League will be interesting with Joss Whedon being in there.
Yeah, and it looks
I
different than
think
the other stuff we've seen,
Aquaman
too.
is definitely going to be that, have the horror elements.
Yeah.
The first time I ever saw that with Marvel was honestly Thor Ragnarok with Taika Waititi.
Yeah.
A little bit of his flavor in there. And then honestly, it would actually be James Gunn with Guardians of the Galaxy being able to do something completely different.
Yeah.
Everything else kind of falls into his Marvel mold, which still, I mean, the Marvel movies are really successful. They found a really good model. People enjoy it, but nothing ever really seems to stick out. That's why it was sad when Edgar Wright stepped away from Ant-Man.
Mm-hmm.
I really would have liked to have seen Baby Driver, but with Ant-Man. That would have been great.
Yeah.
But what are your thoughts on Wonder Woman? Go on ahead, comment below, and let us know about that. But next week, we are going to have another episode before we start going to every other week podcasts. And would you like to tell them what it's all about?
So next week's podcast, we're talking about, again, we'll if there's any other big new movie news, we obviously get into that. The big thing we want to talk about is we're getting towards the end of this calendar year. But for movie season, that's sometimes when the years pick up, especially in the award seasons. But also, there's this little bitty franchise that has a movie coming out.
I don't know. I'll need to listen to the podcast next week to figure out what movie that is. Star Wars: The Last Jedi. Yeah, so we're going to do an end-of-year watch, basically, is what it is.
Yeah.
We're going to tell you about some big... we're going to conspiracy-ize a little bit about some movies, what we think are going to happen. I did. Like Justice League, I have some theories. I have some very strong theories about what I think is going to happen in Justice League. In Star Wars, I know you do too.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to talk a bit about that. We're going to tell you about some movies you probably haven't heard of that you need to be checking out and why you should. And so just make sure you check out that this upcoming week. So, Austin, I guess we're wrapping this thing up here.
Yep.
So, who are you? We know who you are. You're Austin. It says it right there. But where can people find you?
My name is Austin James. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Twitter. My Twitter handle is ADJames24.
All right, and I'm Raymond Morris, of course, at @officialrmorris on all the social medias. Make sure you follow this page, Red Turbo Jacket Productions, on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Did I miss anything? iTunes.
Yep.
This podcast is on iTunes as well. It's on SoundCloud as well if you really don't want to do the Apple thing.
Yeah.
Also,
Works for me.
we're going to be putting together a questions episode coming up. So make sure you either tweet at us at RTJ_productions, and or comment on any of the sites with what question film wise you want us to talk about, answer, and we'll do that. And I feel like I'm blanking on another announcement that we need to be doing, but I don't have it. We'll certainly tell you about it.
Yep.
So for Red Turbo Jacket Productions and the Real Good Podcast with this guy here, that's Austin. I'm Raymond. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Make sure you like, share, click that share button. Make sure you retweet, subscribe to everything so we know you like what we're doing, and we'll see you next time.
It's a real good podcast, yeah. Yeah. Woo!